Hold up. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we are streaming. Yes, okay. It is Friday, July 18th, 2025 at 5:12 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And here we are in Fallout 3. I actually am still working on the Neon Lore video, but given that I'm going to be working on a video on Fallout 3 next, I figured I'd go ahead and start that now. This is my cat Leo right here. So, let's talk a little bit about what's going on with the Neon Lore video, and then get on to the next lore video, which again will be on Fallout 3. So I have had actually like really crazily busy past couple of weeks. I apologize I wasn't able to be here last Friday, but so okay, I'll start with the stuff on Neon, then I'll tell you why it is that things have been so crazy. So I have recorded the audio. I'm still editing the audio. If you're unaware, I feel like I've talked about this a little bit before, but I am horrible at recording audio. I basically flub lines probably 3 or 4 times usually, and these are lines that I've written too, so it's not like I'm reading this for the first time. But anyway, so I basically I ended up having, so just to give you an idea here, the video should be an hour and 48 minutes long according to my estimates, and the actual recorded audio, the first time around, again, no editing so far, is up to 4.5 hours long. Now I've cut that down significantly. I've already actually edited it down to where I've got 50 minutes that's ready to go, and so I still got to get the rest of it. But it's still like 3 hours long, so that's the amount of flubs that I still have to get out of it. Is a little. Still got about an hour left that I need to extract of the actual competent audio recording out of it. So anyway, that's where I am right now. And then along with that, I think I'm actually good on actual video recording. Maybe a few little bits of B-roll here and there. But for the most part, I think I actually have it. I'm going to make sure. I feel like the audio from my footsteps might be very loud right now. Let's check in on that. I'm just going to turn this down slightly. Okay. Yeah, that's a little better. Anyway, so I have been working on that. I ended up also recording basically halfway through the entire Ryujin quest line in the process of doing this, because I needed to get a couple little 15-second clips of different characters that only show up in Neon within the Ryujin quest line. So I've got that done. I've got the footage of when there are Starborn options, which there's only 2 that I found within that stuff. I'm got God mode activated because my character is overloaded, so I literally would not be able to walk right now otherwise. So these guys aren't going to hurt me, and I'm not doing much damage to them either. But but yeah, so that's what's going on there. I've also the actual narrative itself is fairly long. These guys are so overpowered, it's crazy. But anyway, there's also 15 notes on it, some of which are fairly significant. And then also there's a section that's like within the notes, but it's not actually a note, in which I basically detail all of the characters that you can find within Neon that are not within the narrative, simply because they're part of side quests that are only available after doing things for Ryujin, or they're mission quests for Ryujin, or mission quests for the Crimson Fleet, mission quests, mission lines for the Freestar Rangers and the main quest, stuff like that. I keep mixing up my terminology here. I think the actual term for it in Starfield is mission, not quest, and I keep mixing that up. But anyway, so that's what was going on there. I've got that footage now, so that's good to go. Again, just need to get the audio edited, then I can get the footage put together. But the reason why this has been taking so long, just in conjunction with it simply being a really long video, in fact, I think it will be the longest video once it actually comes out that I've ever made, is simply the fact that, like, for the past 2 weeks, my life has been fairly chaotic. Basically, just to give you a quick rundown here, broad strokes, 2 Mondays ago, my dog had a tooth extracted, which is like, he had needed that for a little while. He had a slab fracture on one of his molars, and it was like, well, you can pay a few $100 to have the tooth removed, or a few $1,000s to have the tooth capped. And it's like, well, I love my dog, but I don't have a few $1,000s to spend getting a dog's tooth capped. So had to get that tooth pulled. Now, on the way home from that appointment, suddenly my AC stopped working in my car. I pull into the garage, I just open up the car, I check inside, and the coolant has sludge in it, which, if you're not aware of what that is, it's when you have a leak and you have oil getting into your coolant and it forms a sludge that basically makes it so your coolant system isn't working at all. So I've spent the past 2 weeks emptying the sludge out of my coolant system in order to get that working again, and then I assume it's a head leak, leak in the head gasket. So I've put some like sealant in there, and we'll see whether or not that works. I ended up breaking a part in the process, so I had to fix that and repair that. And the inventor of the hose band clamp, I have sworn eternal vengeance upon that man. I don't know. I'm assuming that the man is probably dead because I think it's an over 100-year-old invention by this point. But it's still eternal vengeance. One of the worst things ever invented in terms of something to try to maintain. Like, yes, I know the worm screw clamps are not as good in terms of staying power long term, but you can actually remove them and put them back on without it being a massive ordeal. They took a chunk out of my index finger because one of those the band clamps rebounded and cut a chunk out of my finger. So again, eternal vengeance. But then I think it was the same day, maybe the next day, our washer failed. I ordered a new capacitor because I just checked the capacitor that runs the drum to spin the basket inside the washing machine. And the capacitor showed that it was an open loop, meaning that it had failed. So I ordered a new one of those. I installed it, and it didn't work. And so I open up the basket, and I see that the basket has completely corroded to where there's no longer a connection between the basket and the motor. So we had to go and get an entirely new washing machine. And that's literally what I was doing last Friday instead of streaming, was trying to lug a 220-pound washing machine up the stairs. Thank God for appliance dollies. But anyway, that is what I've been doing, is stupid amounts of car work, and then working with the washing machine and all that. So it's been quite a couple of weeks. My hope is that I don't know. I don't generally believe in the idea of the simulation theory where everything is a simulation. But there are parts of life that do kind of feel like that, where it's like things are going a little too well, gotta have something go wrong. And then occasionally it's like, oh, look at that, double bad luck, bang, bang. And then it's so I'm hoping that, and this is a fallacy in thinking, but I'm hoping that at least for a little while I'm good on bad luck. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, though, I hope everybody has been having a good week. Again, hopefully we'll have the Neon video done here in the next few days. I keep promising that thing basically like within a few days, and I keep forgetting how long it takes to work on these things. Again, it's definitely next week. There's no question in my mind about that in the slightest. Now, I would really hope that it's Monday, but I don't think that's probably going to happen. I've got other things I've got to do this weekend, specifically like I've got to plant a tree and stuff like that. But the rest of my time will be devoted to getting this video done and out. And not just because, like, I really want to, like, be able to move on to the next thing, which is definitely true, but also because genuinely I'm actually excited to share with you all the stuff that I learned about Neon, because it's a really interesting place to go. So that is in the near future. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put together a poll for whatever the next Fallout 3 video is going to be. And I'm probably only going to get one of those done because I want to try to resume as normal a schedule as possible, especially with how long this Neon video has been dragging on. Basically, I want to like try to correct, and so I'll probably just do one Fallout 3 video, then move on to Fallout New Vegas, where I'll do a couple videos for Fallout New Vegas. So basically, expect July's 2 videos to be basically the video that's supposed to come out in May for Neon. And then along with that, a video on Fallout 3. Let me check real quick to see what the other 3 poll options were last time. Because I ended up doing Slavery in the Capital Wasteland, but let's see what the other 3 options were in the poll. Where is it? Next lore video. There it is. Hey, Jexter Jackson. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good week. Okay, so I've got... No, that was that one. There's 76, 4, New Vegas, 3. Okay, the other 3 options last time, and I will include these 3 and add one more, were what happened to Canterbury Commons, what happened at the Dunwich building, and what happened in Vault 106. So those are the 3 options. I'll figure out one more to put on there. I'm not sure what exactly just yet. If anybody who's watching wants to suggest a topic to cover within Fallout 3, I can put that on there as well. Now, of course, it is a poll, and so it will come down to who votes for what and how many people vote for whatever the topics end up being. But yeah, I would love to cover any one of those. Dunwich means I can get into a little bit of the Lovecraftian lore of the Fallout universe. Because, of course, Dunwich is a name based in the Dunwich Horror, one of H.P. Lovecraft's works. And then Canterbury Commons is kind of that merchant city. Not really a city, outpost, merchant's outpost, where you can also find the... I believe that's where you can find the antagonizer and the mechanist, although it's been a while since I've really covered, actually not covered, I haven't ever covered those two. It's been a while since I've actually explored that content. Probably well over a decade at this point. And then Vault 106. Which one is that one again? I'm trying to remember what the general experiment was there. It's been quite a while. Let's see, there's 101, there's 106. Let's go take a look. Oh. Raiders, huh? I do love the idea of fast travel where it's supposed to be like, oh yeah, you ran there. That's why time passed in between. But at the same time, you clearly have just teleported and they've advanced the clock, because there's no way that you would just walk into the middle of that baseball diamond completely surrounded by raiders and just ignore it right until you got into the middle of it. I've got a cat in my lap that's looking up at me every time I stop petting him. Alright. My gosh, there's a lot of raiders out here. Going the right way, right? Yes. Let's see. What else can I tell you all? I have gotten a chance to talk to another Fallout YouTuber in the past couple weeks as well. I'm not going to talk about that yet, because basically they were contacting me about some issues they had uncovered with another YouTuber who's stealing content, but I'm not going to talk about that just because I like the idea of them being able to get the full quantity of their ducks in a row on that before talking about it. Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. I love making these videos. Again, like, even as much frustration as I've gotten out of the video on Neon, I'm still really looking forward to telling you all that story. It's one of those things where it's also frustrating too, because I know that Starfield is, like, of the games that I cover, Starfield is the one where people are the least, there's the fewest number of people interested, but at the same time, the people who are interested are generally very interested in it. So it's kind of like a double-edged thing where, like, on one hand, I definitely get less viewership on those, but at the same time, it seems like a lot of the time, like, the people that watch those videos enjoy them more than people who watch the other videos. So, but yeah, looking forward to covering something in Fallout 3 again. It's been since January since I last did. And that was the Slavery in the Capital Wasteland, and before that, it was doing a map of the metro system. If you've missed that, I've got that in there as well. Seriously, it's been a while since I've been to 106. Is this the Gary Vault? I honestly can't remember. Let's find out. But yeah, I was contacted by another YouTuber. Again, I'm not going to say their name until they're comfortable talking about this stuff openly. And I think they're still building a case on what's going on here. But basically, there's a third-party YouTuber, in fact, probably a couple of them, who seem to be... I thought I just unlocked that. Did I? Oh, I probably wasn't clicking on it. Basically, he was taking footage from multiple channels and using it in their videos. Let's see. If any of our residents notice any unusual odor or faint taste in the air, please assure them that everything's okay. There was a slight irregularity in the filtration system, but nothing to cause alarm. The systems have already been corrected and are 100% functional again. If you notice anyone acting out in a strange manner, please report the disturbance immediately to the medical assistant, so medical assistance can be sent to the overseer. Okay. Again, it has been a while since I've been in Vault 106, so this will be a refresher for me to explore the entirety of this vault and put some videos together. Oh! Insane Survivor. So not the Gary Vault. There we go. That's the other fun thing about covering this stuff, is that when I pick a topic, it means that I get to dive into it in depth, and so if it's something that I don't necessarily remember fully, it's a way to, like, fully learn the lore and then share everything that I've learned with y'all. Like, there are absolutely vaults that I remember without question, like, everything about them. But at the same time, there are definitely vaults like this where it's something where it's kind of slipped from my memory, you know? Like, I remember this. I remember specific parts of this, like walking through here, the kind of blue filter on the screen and seeing people that were walking around. Hey, ADHD Queen, welcome to the stream. Hoping you're having a good week. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff I remember here. I don't necessarily remember everything but the experiment. I think they were pumping chemicals into the air supply in order to try to control people, but it didn't work. But again, that's my memory of it. We'll figure it out. But yeah, so again, we'll see what happens though with that other thing with the guy that's stealing footage, because it's one of those things where it's one thing if you contact me beforehand to use footage that I've put together for videos. It's another thing entirely when you don't, and also when you don't even bother to acknowledge it. So the other thing was the guy who stole this footage from me has like 10 times the subscribers, which really feels like quite a faux pas. Like, it's one thing if you're taking something from someone who's bigger than you, and I don't even agree with that without talking to the person, but it's another thing entirely when you take from someone, again, who has 1/10 your subscribers. Anyway, science labs. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, at least 4 other YouTubers had their content stolen by this person. Alright, let's see here. Nope. I don't think you can actually do anything in this state. Oh yeah, note to me. A note to me. This place is great. I think it's time to accept the new and embrace this change. Relax. What do we got here? Is this all going to be the same? Another note to me. Come on, don't you like it better here? Breathe deep in the blue. Relax. Please read me. Seriously, this place has everything we need. Enjoy it while we're here. Fine, be that way. Great. Oh, yeah. No, I know. Let's see. Glad you're having a good week, though. Or a good day. I have nothing more to say to you. Word through here. Fine, be that. Is this... Okay. So they're all going to be like that from now on. But it's one of those things, too, where it's like, as much as my... Can I check these out now that I'm not in Crazy Town? Yeah, they're all broken, I bet. But it's one of those things, too, where it's like, as... Love how sassy the computers are on the vault, yeah. It's like, as crazy as the past 2 weeks have been for me, where it's like I'm about 50% chance out of a car. Jeez. And I had to, shell out for a new washing machine and all that stuff. Like, as crazy as that kind of stuff is, and as frustrating as it is, people obviously have far worse weeks than I had. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where it's I'm always hesitant to complain about that sort of thing, but my whole goal here is just trying to explain to you all why it is that my progress has been slowed on the Neon video. I really want to get that thing out to y'all, so... Oh. Hallucinations. I was afraid they might not be hallucinations. I figured I might be hallucinating and have insane people come running at me. They did it a long time ago. The Wendigo came out of the elevator at the end. Oh, yeah. I remember that now. It was in Allegheny Asylum, also known as Fort Defiance. Yeah, the Wendigo used the elevator. I forgot about that. Oh, man. Yeah. We got a lot of good times like that in Fallout 76. Let's see. I haven't even been checking. Can I even loot? No, I know. I mean, that's the thing, too, is Vault 76 has been... Fallout 76 has been... Yeah, you can. Okay. Fallout 76 has been out for 7 years this November. That's crazy. Time is flying. I mean, people have been pointing out that. Sorry, my wife is asking if her shoes are in here. No, they are not. People were pointing out that The Dark Knight and Mamma Mia came out. I think it was today, or maybe it was yesterday. 17 years ago. Let's see. Hopefully videos are good. Yeah. I mean, I gotta tell you, I hate recording audio. It's literally my least favorite part of doing this stuff. Like, I love putting scripts together. I love doing all the research. I hate recording the audio. Just, again, because I'm quite bad at it. And then along with that, there's the whole thing where if you're unaware of recording your voice and you haven't done it a lot, then you may not know that your voice actually changes a lot based upon a whole set of different situations where it's like, what did you just eat? How dry is your mouth? What of what you just ate? Was there any dairy in there? Was there anything carbonated that you just consumed? And it's and so it's like every one of these things can screw with you, and then like you have a minor cold, or like allergies are affecting you slightly, and one of your nostrils is clogged up, so suddenly your voice is different, and so it's like trying to record and have your voice sound the same just across the board. Man. And so it's one of those things where like I am generally hesitant to use AI in making my videos, but it's one of those things where it's like I'm going to have to fight myself very hard not to use AI to replicate my voice, just so I don't have to do the voice, the reading parts anymore. Is this the science lab one? No. Okay. These are just all dormitories. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's see if there's anything else to talk about. I think since the last time we talked, Microsoft fired a whole bunch of people, including a bunch of people at ZeniMax. We may have I can't remember if that had happened 2 weeks ago when we were here last. If it had, then I've got the same message now as I had then, which is like, I hate this kind of stuff. Especially because like, maybe I'm missing something, but it seems to me that the merger between, or the buyout, I guess, of Bethesda by Microsoft has been nothing but bad for Bethesda, and I'm having trouble seeing any upside for it at this point in time. Because at the end of the day, it's like half the studios that Bethesda owned are now gone. I mean, one of them being like Tango Gameworks or whatever. I think they ended up basically being reconstituted by another company. Oh yeah? Time to get a new phone? Oh, sorry, I missed that. Let's see. Always wanted to do it previously on this show for something, but a full recording, that's intimidating. Yeah, no, and again, the Neon video that I'm currently editing the audio on is an hour and 48 minutes long. And that is a lot. Am I missing something here? Let me take a look at the map. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely just heading down the wrong passages here, because I just explored all of this. Let's see. And the other thing, too, is that the longer I record, and I'm sure this is true for almost everybody, but the longer I record, the more tired my voice gets. And, like, it's not like my throat hurts when I'm doing it, but I just, like, generally, it gets to where I start slurring words and stuff like that, like my mouth muscles get tired. So I'll go back and do a recording and be like, oh, okay, gotta basically redo half of this. I was very infested here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, but again, so it seems like, is this, I keep coming across these doors that I feel like I've opened already, but clearly haven't. But yeah, again, it seems to me so far that everything that's come out of the Microsoft purchase of Bethesda has just been a net negative. And I don't know, maybe there's something I'm missing there. Maybe they've done some sort of like promotional deal that's made Bethesda better off, but I don't see it. The one thing I will say, so there's the bobblehead for science. That's nice. is that for people out there that use Game Pass, you've got access to a bunch of Bethesda games on Game Pass. I personally don't use it. I've got nothing really against it. My understanding is that even though it has seemed like the financials aren't there, that it is actually somehow sound. It seems kind of crazy to me, but there you have it. But yeah, other than that, I don't see what benefits there have been for Bethesda, generally speaking. Because at the end of the day, I think... So, obviously there are people out there that don't like Starfield just because it's Starfield, and they don't like Starfield. But I think that there is a small chunk of the population for whom they don't like Starfield because they play PlayStation, and they've got something against all things Xbox. And in that way, they've been unable to get their hands on Starfield, and so they hate on it just because of that. That guy was wearing a 101 jumpsuit. Is that because we're seeing a hallucination from the Vault Dweller, inside the Lone Wanderer's mind? Anyway, I'm assuming that there's probably a password somewhere in here that I'm supposed to have found, but I don't know. And this isn't like I'm actually recording footage here for a video or anything, so let's just check this out. Preparations report. The ventilation system has been checked, and the required security and medical protocols have been initiated as per instructions in preparation for the release of the control. The following systems have been brought online: VShaft 00209, VShaft 00413, sorry, 437, wow. VShaft 00518 and VShaft 00518C. The following systems have been disconnected: VShaft 00014A through D, or is it the A-D, I don't know, and VShaft 00083AD. The following security precautions have also been completed: Security Protocol 5146A, Camera Protocol 52 Overseer, Medical Protocol 98 MedAlert. I have also overseen all preliminary tests and can assuredly say that we are ready and prepared for the worst. I don't think that they were. Okay. Because everybody here is either dead or insane. The fact that there are still people here alive, I mean, to me that implies that this experiment went wrong very recently, but I don't think that we're supposed to assume that. It's one of those things where, okay, here we go, scribbles. It feels like they probably should have added variants of the vault suit to the game where they're like torn and tattered and stuff like that as a way to show that people have been in a bad situation for a long time, but yeah, they didn't do that. So let's see, scribbles. Okay, just goes directly into inventory. I forgot that it does that. Nope, not there. Oh, is it going to be in... Yes, notes. Scribbles. Scribbly, bibbledy, hoodly hoo, wing wang bricka, bang choo choo choo, upside popsicle tastes like blue, ghosts in the hall go boo boo boo. So much hope for Starfield. Such a... reading stories, but it feels like they dropped it all. I will personally say that I love the world of Starfield, but I'm not terribly enthused with the main story of Starfield. So it's one of those things where it's like I love all the faction. Didn't I clear this area? Anyway, I love all the faction missions. I love the side missions, generally speaking. But yeah, the main mission it does not grab me. I'll just say that. Where is the entrance? I know I specifically saw the entrance to the science lab, and I've completely lost track of it. Is it in here? Yes. Okay. Let's see. But yeah, doing anything for the UC SysDef against the Crimson Fleet, or even working for the Crimson Fleet. I mean, that whole storyline's great, especially just the whole thing with the lock and the key, the prison on an ice world with a space station around it that was supposed to basically be like the security office for the whole place. Like, I love the idea of the prison planet with it being like an icy world where, yeah, you escaped your prison, but now you're just dead on the surface, that kind of thing. I loved doing all of the UC Vanguard quest line. The Freestar Rangers quest line was pretty good.
There you are.
The Ryujin stuff's also pretty good. But yeah, it absolutely. I mean, again, I don't know. There's the whole multiverse thing. I feel like was such a big thing in the late 2010s, early 2020s. Jeez Louise, we're already in the mid 2020s. Oh, Butch. I just saw Butch. But yeah, multiverses just, they don't interest me that much because it basically takes away all of the, what's the way to put it? All the stakes. Because it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we screwed up this reality, let's just go on to the next one. It's like, that, the whole point in a game is basically that, oh, finger, interesting. Okay. Is that, I can't remember if that's for the regulators or for the other side. I think fingers are, you take them to the good guys. The ears, I believe, are the ones you take to the bad guys, but I could be misremembering that. The story with why Earth is like it is and the monsters, that was good. Storytelling with the ending. Yeah. No, and so I will also say that I enjoy the fact that there are Starborn options and dialogue when you've played through the game again after going through the Unity. I do not like fully how they implemented that system. And I'll give you a quick example from the content that I'm covering right now in Neon. So there's a side quest called Unjustified. Now, generally speaking, I enjoy this side quest. Basically, the way it works is you go to the quick shop in the Underbelly, and you talk to Catherine Lusian. She and her husband Thomas used to run the quick shop. Basically, it was a corner store that sold goods to the workers of Generdyne and Xenofresh, the two corporations that basically make Neon work. Now, over time, she and her husband had their rent raised, they had their power bill go up, and so they had to keep raising their prices in order to compensate for that. But it meant that a lot of the people who would buy their goods felt that they were being gouged. And so again, we got good background story going on here. We got characters that, like, you know, they feel realistic and all that kind of stuff. So you go in and the problem is her husband's dead. And she's been told by Neon security that he fell off the side of the platform after having a heart attack. She doesn't believe it. She asks you to look into it. You look into it and you find out, no, he was in fact murdered by a junkie who was looking for cash to buy drugs. And the specific reason he did it is because he believed the lies that they were ripping people off. Okay, here we are on the other side of this. We got the Vault 6 master key. That probably would have gotten us into the Overseer's office and maybe even have gotten us into their computer. Anyway, though. Back to Unjustified. So you hunt this guy down that's done the crime, and you can either kill him or exile him. And you go back to her, tell her what you've done, and you're good to go. Now, that's all good. When you come back to it, though, when you're doing it the Starborn version of it, you should be able to immediately tell her right off the bat. And again, this is just what I'm thinking here. You should be able to tell her right off the bat, you know exactly what happened, who did it, and why. Because again, you literally know it. 100% right off the bat, you know exactly what happened to her husband. And the fact that that's not even an option is just, it's frustrating. And the fact that most of the time, what you can do with the Starborn option is basically just like kind of give little like vague knowing statements about things instead of like actually having an outright effect on the game is also frustrating. It's one of those things where it's like, absolutely, leave it as an option so that if you want to go through the entire quest and do it again, you can do it. And maybe even have it to where you cut back on the amount of experience you get for completing a side quest if you use the Starborn option to do it. But at the same time, if you are going to go ahead with this game mechanic where you know the story of the game already as the player character rather than just the player, then it should be the case that you can use that information to actually like fully accomplish quests. Anyway, let's see, security terminal here. Urgent security notice. 2, Vault Security Clearance B, Vault Security Clearance C. Today at 15:30, we are initiating control sequence 46-2A. We are unsure of the full effects of the gas release, so we request that anyone receiving this message head to their designated locations as noted in your C11 form. The assigned locations were chosen for the cover and safety they provide, so do not vacate them unless dire circumstances arise. Remember to handle anyone acting abnormally according to the guidelines. Okay. So the one thing I will say, though, is that I can see the argument against what I'm saying there with the Starborn options. Basically, because if you were to do that, then you'd have to really restructure a lot of quest lines, especially like the main faction quest lines, because it's one thing to basically do it with like a little side mission where it's like one spot to one spot within a single city. But at the end of the day, like, and that's one thing, but the faction quest lines can sometimes span across like several planets, dealing with like a dozen NPCs. And so I get not doing it exactly that way there. But I would prefer that they at least have considered that, and maybe that would be a good thing to introduce in some sort of, like people have been talking about them doing a Starborn DLC at some point. I think that would be nice to do there. Basically make it so that all of the dialogue, all of the quests have a Starborn option where you can actually use your pre-existing knowledge. Like if you know that someone's going to die in a mission, like you should have a way to prevent that, right? Let's see here. I feel like I'm just getting lost in here, and I feel like we've already been over the at least the obvious available lore here, because it's one of those things where it's like I'm definitely gonna have to come back to this place with a fine-tooth comb when I'm actually doing proper data collection. And again, that's if you all vote for Vault 106 is the thing I'm going to cover. But for right now, I feel like we've gotten everything that's like overtly available, and even then sometimes found something that was not immediately obvious, which is that Scribbles page, which doesn't really provide any serious lore here, but just basically shows how crazy the people were that were living here when all this went down. But yeah, let's see what else. So, and the other thing is like, I don't know. I feel like I've talked enough about issues I have with Starfield. Again, I like Starfield, but it definitely has some problems to it, and it's something that I'm hoping they'll fix over time with additional DLC. And along with that, if we do end up getting a Starfield 2 at some point, which I would appreciate it if they would do that, I would hope that they make some changes to it to generally improve the parts that have been a little weak. Is this the way out? I feel... No, that doesn't seem right. I think this... No, that's a shop. I think it was up on the upper floor was the way in here. Yes, there it is. Okay. Yeah, generally speaking, the world of Starfield needed more baked into it. And along with that, I talked to another content creator, Sleep is for Tea. She does the Starfield Lorecast, I think, along with a few other ones. And she hasn't released the episode that we've recorded together yet, so I won't talk about it too much here. But a little bit of what we talked about, and I can't even remember if it was in the actual content portion of it or if it was before or after. But regardless, was they probably should have done the layout for the cities a little bit differently, in that it probably should have been the case that with planets with major cities, so we're talking New Atlantis, Aquila City, Neon is already the case, but maybe even Mars with Cydonia, it should potentially have been the case that you couldn't just land anywhere on those planets, but that effectively you should have been able to land within those cities, and that there should have been limits to the world around you, and there should have been a skybox, so that you land in New Atlantis and you look around you and there's like city in every direction as far as the eye can see. And that way they can go ahead and basically make the places be lore accurate without having to focus like thousands of hours of worker time on parts of the game that people generally are not going to be terribly interested in exploring, or even if they are interested in exploring that whole thing, it's like one of those things where when you have a game that spans 100 star systems, 120 or whatever it is, star systems, you simply can't devote the entirety of your time to any one planet to make that fully explorable, not in a way where it would, again, match the lore. So instead, you basically, you do kind of what Mass Effect does, where you provide a chunk of the city that you can go visit that's fully developed, where you can talk to the characters there and all that kind of stuff, do all kinds of quests, all that kind of stuff, go to the shops. But in every direction, you see what the planet's supposed to look like. And the problem is that when you go to New Atlantis and you look around, it's like all forest. And it's like, this is supposed to be the biggest city in the settled systems, with like, it's the most important city, the most populous city. What's happening here? But anyway, again, I think that's enough on Starfield. So again, with Fallout 3, again, that's going to be the next game that I cover again in this cycle. Let's recover what the potential topics will be. Currently here I have what happened at Canterbury Commons, what happened to the at the Dunwich Building, what happened to Vault 106, and again I'm going to come up with a fourth topic. If anybody has a specific topic they'd like to see covered in Fallout 3 that I have not yet covered, there's plenty of them. I mean, obviously most of the vaults. I've only actually covered one of the vaults here, I believe. Which one was it again? It's this one, Vault 92. That's the only one I've covered so far. Is it actually? I think it is. I can check real quick. I don't have to say specifically. Yeah, those are all good, but I like to have 4 topics up there to give people options. So let's see. Fallout 3, and there are so many videos I've needed to be working on, but I've not been able to devote any time to them. Surveil videos, for example. Okay, Fallout 3. Have I really only produced 4 videos on Fallout 3 so far? That's crazy. Yeah, so I've covered Vault 92, Megaton, Grey Ditch, and Slavery in the Capital Wasteland. Man, Grey Ditch. Only 1,576 views. That's frustrating because I really actually did go in pretty good depth there on Grey Ditch, but it is what it is. It's one of those things where Grey Ditch by itself doesn't seem like that interesting a topic, but actually when you get into it, it's pretty good. There's more stuff to that than I think people think. Let's see, what else? All right, so then after that, obviously, like I said, so again, July is going to be 1 video on Fallout 3. Then August, I'll cover 2 videos of Fallout New Vegas. So let's see what the potential options are there so far. I actually covered 3 topics on Fallout New Vegas this year so far. This has been such a crazy busy time that I legitimately forget about these things at times. So let's see. So yeah, I had 4 options for what to cover on Fallout New Vegas. Yeah, I hope you like it. I think it's a pretty good amount of information there on Grey Ditch. So in Fallout New Vegas, the 4 options I had were Helios 1, 188 Trading Post, Vault 11, and Boulder City. And I ended up covering all of those but Helios 1. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to put up the 2 topics that I feel like I probably should have covered already, but have not yet, which are Mojave Outpost and Helios 1. And then along with that, I'll do 2 more that are further along the course of the Courier. Because if you're unaware, with Fallout New Vegas, I covered Goodsprings, then Prim, then Nipton. And along the way, somewhere in there, I covered the Powder Gangers. Then I covered Searchlight, and then went up to Novac. And again, then the 188 Trading Post, Boulder City, and Vault 11. I also covered Vault 18, I believe. Let's see here. I've got the full playlist here. I've covered 13 topics in New Vegas. No, sorry, 12 topics because one of those is an addendum. Yeah, Vault 19. Sorry, Vault 19 and Vault 11. And I've covered RepCon. And sorry, it's actually only 11 topics because I did an addendum to the RepCon video as well. But again, I'm following the path of the Courier. So it goes from Goodsprings around the southern part of the mountains and then up north again. So I'll find a couple more topics to cover there. Although I feel like we're getting close to basically just being the Courier getting to New Vegas. Because, like, I don't know about you all, but most of the time, by the time I pass the 188 Trading Post, and really, once I get done checking in with the Great Cons in Boulder City, I've pretty much got a pretty good idea of where I need to go, which is to the Vegas Strip. Because once you finish at Boulder City, you learn that Benny is a member of the Tops. And so you know you need to visit the Tops Casino in Vegas. And of course, the only real limit to you then is getting the caps that you need in order to pass the caps check to get into the Strip. But, I mean, at the same time, there are still definitely settlements along the way. There are factions along the way to be covered. Specifically, I could cover the Kings. I could do a video on Freeside. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely still plenty of stuff to cover even before getting to New Vegas. And then after that, there are so many additional topics that I can cover after Vegas. Again, I'm just generally following the path of the courier, so at some point I will get to things like Fortification Hill and stuff like that. I also will eventually do a video specifically on the Hoover Dam. I considered covering the Hoover Dam when I was covering Boulder City, because if you're unaware, if you didn't watch my Boulder City video, or if you just aren't aware of it historically speaking, as I really wasn't, Boulder City didn't exist until they needed to build it in order to build the Hoover Dam. They are inextricably linked. Boulder City was built as a worker camp for the Hoover Dam. Of course, at the time, it was the Boulder Canyon Dam Project, which is why it's called Boulder City, because it was built on Boulder Canyon. In fact, that was originally where it was supposed to be built. It ended up being built in Black Canyon, if I'm remembering correctly. But anyway, so that's why Boulder City is what it is, and that's why I ended up not covering Boulder City and Hoover Dam in the same video, other than the most basic level of Hoover Dam coverage, because I want to cover basically the second battle of Hoover Dam in its own video. Or it could be the case that I cover the Hoover Dam and the second battle of Hoover Dam in a single video, like those two topics together. But I didn't think it would be appropriate to cover the second battle of Hoover Dam if I'm following the path of the courier and I've just left Novak. So what I'll end up probably doing is getting through, because the way I'm currently doing it is that the courier and this rendition of things is a basically supporter of the NCR. I will also do versions of the videos where, so effectively there's not really that big a difference up until you get to Vegas, because once you get to Vegas, if you're unaware, you can basically pick your side at that point. So even if you've actually been like really beaten out, like just beaten the Legion to death all the way up to there, you can get effectively clemency from Caesar to actually then go in and join Caesar's Legion. So what I'll probably do is have it so that you get to Vegas, the courier gets to Vegas, and then I will go ahead and cover all those other topics basically in individual lines. But even then, there are still other topics to cover that aren't specific to a specific faction, even, like covering like the Van Graffs or something like that. And there are still plenty of companion videos to do as well, like the Rose of Sharon Cassidy, Veronica, Boone. Obviously I've touched on Boone slightly, but I have not covered Boone as a character, so I'm gonna have to do videos on all those people as well. Just to kind of get reviews though on where we're moving, once we get past Fallout New Vegas, we'll be on to Fallout 4, and the topics that are left over from the last video or from the last time I did videos on this stuff are, so the 4 topics I had available for March were the Gunners, Covenant, Raiders of the Commonwealth, and Jamaica Plain. So I covered the Gunners and Covenant. So I still have Raiders of the Commonwealth and Jamaica Plain. Jamaica Plain being both a real city on the outskirts of Boston in the real world. It's probably considered a suburb of Boston, I'm not sure. And then along with that, there is the Raiders of the Commonwealth are actually a fairly interesting group. There's a bunch of basically different subgroups of the Raiders. It's kind of feels like a missed opportunity, to where it seems like they could have created multiple additional Raider groups within the Commonwealth, because they gave them all bosses and they gave them all territory, but at the same time there were some interactions between them. I mean, they did kind of improve upon that with the Nuka World DLC, where they gave us the 3 factions of Nuka World that were all Raiders, but again, were all separate at the same time. And they definitely improved on that with Fallout 76, with the Raiders of the Crater, but along with that, the Raiders of the Savage Divide, where you had those 5 separate gangs. You had the Cutthroats, you had the Diehards, the Trappers, the Gourmands, and I think I'm definitely missing one. Blackwater Bandits. Sorry about that. And then obviously, along with the Raiders of the Crater. What are you doing? Yeah. This. Also, sorry, the Blood Eagles, and then along with that, the Rust Eagles as well. So they've definitely, over time, have improved the quality of Raiders in terms of the quantity and differentiation between the different factions. But even so, the Raiders of the Commonwealth, there are still differences there, and I do want to cover them. But along with that, I'll find 2 additional topics to cover. Oh, I think I got a cat meowing outside the door as well. And then after that, we'll go back to Fallout 76. And let's see. So for the last time I had basically remaking the video on Senator Sam Blackwell, doing a better version of it, because the original one I'm not happy with, because I basically did lore collection in the video at the same time as I covered it. So it's a fairly long video because I show you how to collect the raw lore along with giving you the story. Then there's what happened to the Blue Ridge Caravan Company Part 2, because I think there's enough content there to cover that now. I then also had Factions of Atlantic City, that I did cover, and then I've got a remake of my video on Clarksburg, but there's definitely a lot of additional content that needs covering. Glimmering Depths. I know that there's been some lore introduced with the fishing that specifically interacts with like the eldritch horrors of the Fallout universe. And then along with that, we are expecting some fairly big patches coming this winter, my understanding, or late fall, I don't know. Something like that with Fallout 76. So I'm definitely interested in covering that as well and seeing where we get with that. Like what kind of stuff we get out of that. I'm hearing all kinds of stuff about like biggest patch they've done in years, basically like on par with Wastelanders in terms of the amount of content we're getting there. I've seen people speculating that we're going to be going into Ohio, which would be interesting as well. I still am holding out hope that at some point we're going to get down to Mount Weather, with it being the perfect place for an Enclave base, but we'll see what happens there. But yeah, a lot of stuff to cover there. Again, as well, I'm hoping that with the expeditions, we'll get to go back to the pit, to go to the mill. With Atlantic City, we need to get to the Pine Barrens so that we can potentially find the source of the, what's it called, the Overgrown. And put an end to that to potentially give Atlantic City a chance to survive going forward. So we'll see where all that all goes. But at the same time, I've seen other people commenting that Fallout 5 has been greenlit, which seems a little bit off to me. Simply because, so we know that Bethesda's working on these things basically in a cycle. So unless we're talking about like a video game in the Fallout universe that's not specifically made by the Bethesda team, like I could see that being the case. Like the main Bethesda Softworks team. I could see that being the case if they were doing basically another game in the vein of New Vegas, to where it's not a mainline game, but it's still... is that a Yaogwai? Yeah. But effectively, we know that they're still working on Elder Scrolls 6, and that they're working on DLC for Starfield, or at least that's what's supposed to be going on there. And if that's the case, then I don't understand how they even have anybody available to work on Fallout 5 at the moment. But I know that at the same time that I'm sure Microsoft is very excited about the idea of making use of the Fallout license, especially with the popularity of the Fallout TV show and the fact that we're going to see another season of the Fallout TV show this winter, this December, I believe it is. I could see them wanting to get another game out there, and while I'm not sure that they would use Obsidian again, just because Obsidian's already working on like 3 projects this year. Avowed, what were the other 2? I can't remember the name of them. The one where you're like a little tiny person. We've been shrunk like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I cannot remember that one, the name of that one right now. But then there's also Outer Worlds 2. So I don't know how they would have the personnel to work on. Basically, it wouldn't be Fallout New Vegas 2, but you get what I'm saying. It's an offshoot game with that is lore canonical and all that stuff, but again, doesn't fall within the mainstream of the main sequences of the game. So we'll see. But yeah, that's again, I've heard that Fallout 5 has been greenlit, but I don't see how that's possible. I am hoping that at Gamescom we're going to get some information on whatever the upcoming Starfield content is. I'm hoping that we're going to get some real information on Elder Scrolls 6. I've even heard a rumor that Elder Scrolls 6 is playable already. But potentially it's one of those things where they're like working out all the bugs that they can. We'll see. I would love to play Elder Scrolls 6. I mean, you got to keep in mind it's been 14 years this November since the last Elder Scrolls game came out, whereas it had been 5 years, less than 5 years in between when it came out. Actually, no, slightly over 5 years in between when Oblivion released and when Skyrim released. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is there are also some very big rumors about there being a Fallout 3 remake in the works. I would love to see that. At the same time, I would not be even slightly surprised if it ended up being a Fallout New Vegas remake. And in terms of remake, we're talking about in the Oblivion remake style of things, to where it's effectively the original game engine with Unreal 5 running the graphics on top of it. And the reason I would think New Vegas rather than 3, although again I'm expecting 3, is because the fact that the TV show is taking place in New Vegas, which would be the perfect tie-in, like literally. But at the same time, I also did see that I think it was a few hundred people got laid off from the studio that produced the Oblivion remaster, which is insanity. Because, like, what they just produced one of the games that sold the most of any game so far this year, and we're talking about a lot of product, and they just got laid off. Like, the games industry is madness right now. I'm getting to the point where I don't want to purchase a game if it's manufactured by a company that has shareholders. That's just the way I'm starting to look at it. Because at the end of the day, when you start making your products in order to please the shareholders, it's not being made to improve the company, and it's not being made to make a product for the gamers. It's a side effect, effectively. If something ends up making the gamers happy, and that ends up making, and like in that you end up making a bunch of money for the stockholders, great. You know, but their whole thing is trying to improve stockholder value, which is again not good for a creative endeavor. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with the Fallout remakes. I would even in like the best world, I would love to see an actual remake of Morrowind, because it's one of those things where I loved the Oblivion remake, and it had been years since, actually 5 years since I played Oblivion, the original one. But I would really love to see, and this would take actually building it basically from scratch, playing Morrowind again. That game is amazing, but it definitely has its very serious issues in terms of combat. If you've never played it before, the way that they decided to do combat is that if you don't have the skill and so the weapon doesn't hit, it just makes a swishing noise through the air. It's almost like basically you're just like rolling a dice, and it's like, oh, sorry, didn't get the right number, so it just swishes through the air. And so if you've got like a weapon skill that's like 20, it's going to be just swishing through the air an enormous number of times before it finally makes that hit. Instead of doing something where it's like it hits but does like such a minuscule amount of damage or something like that, you know. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of that stuff. I would love to play Morrowind with a better engine, and I've seen the what's it called? Skywind. Skywind is something that I'm very excited about, as people who have been rebuilding Morrowind within the Skyrim engine. Obviously, there's also Skyblivion, and that kind of got run over by the remake. But at the same time, I will say absolute class acts on the behalf of Bethesda there, because they ended up bringing... Ooh, that's fun. I'm walking on top of an invisible wall there. They ended up bringing in the developers from Skyblivion to tour the studio. They gave them all a copy of the remake and basically praised them for all the work they'd been doing. So, class act there on the behalf of Bethesda. And it's one of those things where it's like, I don't always like everything that Bethesda does. Really, it's more so a question of what ZeniMax does, where like ZeniMax sued a company that produced a card game called Scrolls, I believe it was. And like, because like, oh, people are going to think that this is an Elder Scrolls game. It's like, no, nobody was going to think that. But ZeniMax was a little protective on that end. But yeah, again, really good work on Bethesda's part, and including the people who basically had their product run over by a remake that was made by a proper publisher. Are you going to get up here, or are you just going to attack the back of my chair? There you go. All right. What else? Oh, yeah. The other game I would love to play is basically a 3D engine remake of the first or second Fallout. Or even if they just had the guys who were making stuff like Alcat. So if they had Alcat, the people who made, what's it called? Rogue Trader. If they had people like that basically remake the first Fallout, even if they did it in the isometric view, Just the ability to actually play that game again with like improved graphics as well would be great. I cannot tell you the number of technical issues I've run into just trying to play the first and second Fallout. And again, at some point I do actually still want to cover those games, but it's immensely difficult to cover them. Just because of all the save options and stuff like that. But along with that, like there's a whole bunch of aspect ratio issues. I think I resolved the aspect ratios issues last time. Why is there a death cloud here? But along with that, one of the best things about filming in Fallout 3 for New Vegas is that you can save at a specific point and like redo that part of the quest over and over and over again. It's definitely an issue with 76 where you then have to come in with a new character if you want to re-experience that content, giving basically different answers or asking different questions. But the issue with Fallout 1 and 2 is that there's 10 save slots. So once you've filled those up, you either got to transfer those things to some sort of storage so you can call them up again, or just accept the fact that you're never going to be able to go back to that spot without actually going through the full game to get there. So anyway, though, anybody have any suggestions for what they'd like to see in terms of a Fallout 3 lore video other than the 3 options that I've already given, which again are Canterbury Commons, Vault 106, and the Dunwich building? If you have another topic you'd like to suggest for that, let me know in the next few minutes here before we close things out. But yeah, again, I think we've got a lot of good stuff to look forward to in terms of games. Again, I'm very hopeful for this Fallout remake, if it's going to be 3 New Vegas. My guess would be 3, although I think New Vegas would have honestly been the smarter thing to do, just in terms of the tie into the TV show and the amount of popularity that comes to Fallout every time the TV show releases. Every time, it's been once. But I got to tell you, I got a massive boost to my channel the last time that they released a season of the TV show. And so I'm hoping for the same sort of thing to happen again. Basically, people start looking for information about the Fallout universe and they end up checking on YouTube and they find channels like mine. And that's always nice. But along with that, I'm probably going to produce a video that's going to be basically like basic information on what the Fallout universe is in 10 minutes, in the same way that I did the story of Fallout 76 in 10 minutes. Just to kind of give people a way into the universe, give them an understanding of just the basics, like why the world looks the way it does in terms of like the 1950s retro future aesthetic. See, there we go. Now I'm walking on the invisible wall and can actually see it. But along with that, like what's going on with the Brotherhood of Steel, like what's with the groups of people going around in power armor fighting each other and stuff like that. What's going on with the world? Why was there a nuclear war? Stuff like that. What is FEV? All that kind of stuff. I definitely would like to put a video together like that to give people a primer on this kind of stuff. So, but anybody have any comments or questions? Also, if you've got a topic you'd like to see covered in New Vegas 4 or 76 when the time comes, let me know, or just keep them in mind, and we'll talk about those again when we get closer to those dates, because obviously I still need to finish the video on Neon, which again, it will be out this next week. I'm not going to let it slip past that. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, but it won't be too long now before I get that thing done. I should hopefully finish the audio editing within, I guess it would be probably another 2 to 3 hours it will take to do that. And then I'm going to have to assemble the video, which will probably take 12 hours, is probably a conservative estimate there, because we're talking about, again, a little bit less than 2 hours worth of footage to put together. Let's see. Well, if no one's got anything else, then I'm going to close things out here. I hope you all had a good week. It was good to talk to you all, and I hope you all have a good weekend. And I will see you all next Friday, again, when we're going to be talking a little bit more about whatever the topic is that I'm covering in Fallout 3. I'm going to put the polls up on the Discord, and I'm going to put the poll up on Patreon. I'm going to say tomorrow is probably when that's going to happen. So I'll have the 4 topics by then. Whichever one you want to vote on, go ahead and do it there. Again, people who are patrons, and people who are channel subscribers, I will of course count. So with patrons, if you vote on the Discord as well, I'll still count that. But if you are a channel subscriber and you vote on the Discord, I will also count that as at least double. I might triple it. Because the way, if you're not aware, the way I do it is I run the poll on both the Discord and on Patreon, and the people that vote on Patreon get 2 points automatically for their vote on Patreon. And then if they vote again on the Discord, they get 1 vote. Anybody who votes on the Discord gets at least 1 vote. And again, if you're a channel member and you vote on the Discord, then I will, again, probably discount you 3 times. I don't know, 2.5 points maybe. I don't know, because it's one of those things where, because if the patrons want something and they go ahead and they vote on the Discord, then they've gone to 2 sites, whereas a channel member that goes and votes on Discord, they've only gone to 1 spot to vote. So I don't know if I need to balance that somehow. But regardless, again, I'll have those new topics up tomorrow, and I'll have the Neon video out within the next week. So I hope you all have a good weekend, and I will see you all next time.